See Zane on here. We got Matt. We got Angela, Gage, Solus, Will. Let's see who else is. Joey's on here. Looks like Cortland's on here. We got a good crew here. Who?
Cortland,
This is the first time they've been on the call. Maybe Angela. This is your first time, maybe.
it is. Cortland is actually my husband, Albert, but
Yeah.
for some
Okay.
reason, it
Okay.
picks up his name.
Okay. Is he driving right now?
He is, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
So
give us a
he's
little.
listening.
Tell us. Yeah. Give us a quick 30 seconds about you, your story, and everything, and what you're doing. This is great to have you.
Well, my husband was a residential builder, and he loves the residential part of it, but we decided to get into the commercial business. He's built a couple of houses in the past. I'm just a little on nail tech, a little overeducated, but I enjoy doing it. And my husband's driving a truck during the week, home on the weekends, and we are ready for him to come home and work full time.
Awesome. I love that. Well, we're happy to have you and we're excited about the partnership and everything. So this is great to be on. Awesome.
Oh, I'm loving it.
Awesome. Good. Well, we're happy to have you. This is that's the whole point is that just the community and most important, hopefully you'll be able to make a chance to our a live event in November. You going to be able to make it?
Well, I don't know. We're going on vacation in October, so I think all of our funds are, what we've done
Yeah.
so far has saved for that. So
Okay.
we may not be able to make it, but hey, if some things fall through and these offers go through, then
Awesome.
we may do it. We
There
will
we
see.
go. Okay, good. I like to hear that. That's great. Well, we're happy to have you. Okay, awesome. And then I think I'm seeing Gage up here too. Gage, is this your first time being on our call?
Yeah, I was able to watch last week's because I,
Yeah.
I didn't join it, but yeah, it's my first time on call.
Awesome. Yeah, Gage, tell us a little more about you, man, your story and everything and what you're trying to do, man. This is great.
Yeah. So happy to be with everybody. I joined. This is the end of my. I guess I'm 10 days in, so really enjoying it so far. I live just south of Nashville, Tennessee. I have a my whole professional background is in sales on the enterprise level. So I saw Nolan's stuff on TikTok, probably like a lot of you, and started to enjoy it and thought I'd join. And I'm excited to see some success here and be with everybody.
Awesome. No, we're happy to have you, man. And that's kind of what makes it fun is I think even today we've got I think Joey, or I think it maybe it's Joey that shot Zane and I a deal today. I mean, Solus is working on a deal. It's just, you'll discover this too, Gage, as you go along is everybody has like everyone's in different stages of their investing, where they are. And it's just fun to be able to say, okay, this is where this person is. You can always pick something off where everybody is that you can, make you a better investor. That's the way I look at it at least. So good deal. All right. So as we kind of get rolling into it, Zane, I'll let you kind of get started if you have any housekeeping items or thoughts before we jump into the call, man.
Yeah, so first of all, let's not gloss over the good news. Nolan just had his latest new member of the family.
Let's
That's
go.
true. That's true. I had a new baby on Monday. We didn't know if it was a boy or a girl. It was a boy. His name is Rhodes Joseph Sanburn, and so I have a 3-year-old, a 20-month-old, and now a newborn. So this is the first time I've been in the office. I guess this week, but I'll be honest with you guys, man. I'm happy to get back into it because maybe like everybody, I like to have activity and to be doing things. So it's great to be with everybody today. I'm really appreciative of. I was like, Zane's like, are we having this call today? I was like, yes. I'm not being on this call. I have to. So thank
Yeah.
you guys. I really appreciate it. We're a very blessed, fortunate family. We got 5 of us now in our little team. I've got a couple more to go for an offensive line. So that's kind of what the goal is, I'd say. So that's where we're at. Yeah.
Congrats.
Thank you, Zane. Thank you guys. Thank you.
Okay, so we got several members doing a lot of really awesome stuff. Me and Angela have been working really hard on some deals that they've been working on, and then also me and Solus have been working on some deals as well. So I know that I don't want to put you guys on the spot, but it'd be awesome if you could share your experience so far. And Angela, I know you've been coming up with new kind of developments on this deal and working it. So if you, I guess, want to go first, and then Solus, you can go next, and then whoever else can go after her.
Well, I found a property where the company used to own the business itself that's inside that particular these two buildings. I say these two properties. There's a couple of buildings on each property. Um, and they're not selling them together. They're selling them separately, but would consider, I'm sure, selling them together. But I did them as separate. Um, so after all the numbers and everything came about, it wasn't really doable with the rent that they were paying. So we reworked the deal. I did an offer the first time. They didn't want to do a seller finance. They said they would rather do a cash, but they're not opposed to doing a seller finance situation. So what me and Zane kind of figured out, and he helped me a lot, but is that if we go up on the rent, try to figure out a way to go up on the rent, we could kind of give him a little bit more than what less than what he wants, but more than what we had originally offered. So if he agrees to, we had to get real creative with this one. So if he goes to the tenant and decides, hey, let's go see if you can get them to go up on the rent. If you can get them to go up on the rent, we can give you this amount of money. And if you can get them to re-sign a 3 to 5 year lease of triple net lease with then we could go with the 1.5% bump that they already have on there to begin with. So I gave them a little bit and then I wanted some. So we worked that deal. And so when he countered, then we worked all that out and then countered back. So I just got that counter back in on both properties within 1 o'clock today. And I also told him to kind of give him a little information to let him know that we were serious. Zane told me that, look, if we can put this under contract, then, you know, if he could talk to the tenant and get the lease and all of that figured out, then we can try to get this under contract. So, you know, that's kind of what the verbiage and all that I used for the gentleman, for the broker, actually. So
Did you share the one pager, the seller carry one pager, or like the seller
the
finance
offer,
of the pro forma?
I did not share the pro forma with the broker. No.
Okay. Not right or wrong, just curious.
Yeah, I didn't want him to have a whole lot of information as far as that goes because he wasn't giving me full information as well. It was act of Congress for me to get comps from him for the market and all of that. And because he was telling me that now he's a nice guy, don't get me wrong. It's just that he is young, but they've been in business since 1960. So I'm sure that it's more of like a family thing that has been handed down. But what I did was is I tried to, since he was giving me limited information, I was trying to give him limited information, but also being more forward to telling him, look, this is what I need and I can't go around it.
What does I'm curious for those on the call now, from what Angela was just mentioning, what's y'all's opinion on the deal? Like because I've got an idea, but I like to hear what you guys like with the circumstances. How would you guys approach this situation? Just curious to hear other body's opinion where they would be, because I have, again, I have an idea, but I want to hear what you guys would think or what you guys would do. Anybody?
Well, I'm new here and I know pretty much next to nothing about commercial real estate. I'm learning as I go, but just being in sales for so long, Angela, I'd say asking for something in return for providing something is always really good. But to me, it's kind of a red flag that somebody that's trying to sell something is being so protective of the information.
Agreed. I would. I think you guys have heard me say before. My biggest opinion is always, how transparent can I be? That's even when I'll go and sit down with the seller. I tell them exactly how and what I'm going to do. And so, I mean, Angel, this is not right or wrong. This is just like, the way I would approach it. It's just, hey, if this guy is wanting to withhold information, there sounds like there might be a few couple of things that he is also withholding, that is maybe holding the deal up for whatever reason. So I don't, or maybe he's got a handshake deal with a brother that's the reason why he's just I've never met a guy that's in sales 100% commission that's not calling me back the very same day when someone calls me inquiring about a site or about anything about selling something. You know, so it's like that's just very interesting. I mean, like you said, Gage, you're in sales, you get it. So I'm like, if somebody is not if withholding information, that's just interesting to me. That's
Well,
bizarre.
the reason I say that is because I asked him about the market price and things like that, the market, because I wanted him to give me a number. I didn't want him to just give me all these comps and make me have to figure out the number because I had a meeting to get to with Zane, and I told him, I said, look, and he told me, and he put pressure and said, look, I need something back by 5 o'clock. I said, well, look, if I've got a meeting with my partner at 12 o'clock, I said, I need to know the market price. I need to know the market rent price. Those are the things that I need in order to, move forward with this. And so he sent over a list, just a list of all the properties, like a memorandum kind of thing of all the properties. Um, but some of them didn't even give me numbers and all of that. So I told him, I said, in order for me to get, I said, I had to go through all of this, and it took me a long time to get all through this, and I wasn't able to get to it before Zane. I said, so that knocked me behind. So first of all, you've knocked me behind. So you're not going to get this by 5 o'clock, period. So, I
Let's
mean,
take
I
one
was,
step further. Let's think logically here. Zane, what is we kind of joke about this, but how does it sound about this seller right now? Am I crazy?
Well, I'm trying to figure out though, Angela.
Can't tell if this guy is zero motivation or he just like did not graduate from middle school. Like I don't know, one or the other.
Well, the thing is, what we did was we gave them an offer with the seller financing and everything, and an offer with cash, I think, right, Angela? And then they entertained the offer with cash, but then we ran the numbers and we did some stuff, and we pretty much were like, and they countered, and we pretty much told them we gave them a takeaway, and we are like, this deal's probably not going to be for us, right? Unless we can get really creative with the terms, unless the seller is motivated to make something happen
and
with
I told
seller
him that.
financing and a lease and everything else. Unless the seller is willing to get creative, then this is probably just isn't the deal for us. So, of course, the broker says, "Oh, well, what do you want to do? Like, let's talk about it." So
Mhm.
then Angela tells them the details, and I guess now they're still interested in getting creative, right, Angela?
Right, that's right. He said that he definitely wants to put a counter offer in. Just go ahead and put it down, and he kept telling me about how somebody else was already interested in the other property, and does that take away from us counter offering for the other property? And I said no. I said they're all separate to me. I said, but we're not going to sit here and make a deal with the rent being the way that it is, because there's just no way that we're going to be able to do that offer. So he said, well, just go ahead and put the counter offer in and let me give it to him and see what he says.
Out of curiosity, Angela, when did he start becoming either protective of information or just lackadaisical in providing it?
It seems to me like he didn't really want to do the work, or he didn't want to, almost like he might not have taken me seriously until I gave him that offer. Once I gave him the offer, then he started to rush me. And,
So,
and
what information are you referring to that he withheld, though?
It was different things like, of course, the market analysis part of it, as far as the price and stuff. So I could kind of work the numbers. Another was the ceiling height. He wasn't sure about this or that, the other. There was some interior renovations that was done to some of the properties. So it wasn't everything that he was holding back from. It was just a couple of things. So I don't know if it's because he was maybe new, or learning more about it, since since that is his family's business. So I don't know what that was about. Now, kind of thinking about it now, maybe he was rushing me because that's the way he's learned how to do it. Or um or I
So,
don't know.
so it's not necessarily representative of the seller himself and his motivation as much as it is the broker's maybe inexperience or like,
That's what I was thinking. Yeah. So, because I had to do I mean, I had to go in there and figure up all of the average of the market price. I mean, I had to do that. Well, I'm not a real estate agent, and I'm not that because I don't. I hire somebody for that. So,
So Nolan, do you still, I know where you're getting at. You wanted to say that the seller sounds unmotivated, but do you still believe that now?
The way I look at it is that the guy's not giving you information. It's hard for me to develop a intrinsic value on a site if I don't even have all my main must-haves, right? I mean, the guy's not even give you the if you haven't walked the site, you haven't got your eyes on the clear height, if you haven't seen the how many roll-up doors, and the guy's being spotty, my opinion, candidly, is I don't like working with people like that. Like it's kind of like you got one shot. I'm not opposed to second chances, but somebody that's being spotty and difficult out of the gate. I mean, there's a lot of brokers out there. There's a lot of real estate agents, and there's somebody else that's more motivated and maybe even a little more sophisticated than this cat. I tell that dude to kick rocks and go find somebody else. Or most importantly, if it's this difficult right now with some property, there's so many buildings out there. Like I just I would not spend all of my time trying to force a square peg into a round hole. That's to me, that's the way that I would look at it. And if you got a broker that's being this difficult now, imagine what's going to happen when you're under contract. Imagine when you're going to try and wire money. There's you're fighting an uphill battle. That's my gun to my head opinion. Is that fair to say?
yeah, and but when I work the numbers, the rent is going to have to be $1,000 more a month for that tenant to actually I mean for that tenant to sign a new lease, first of all, triple net lease, 3 to 5 years, still 1.5% bump. Um, but he's gonna have to pay $1,000 more a month on both properties in order for us to even try to make that deal. And that's what I put back. So
Yeah.
that's to make money.
Yeah, I
Yes.
mean, make your offer aggressive, make it more aggressive than what it probably needs to be, and then put the ball in their court. And then while the ball's in their court, you can go find two other deals to go tie up.
Because right now they have 18 months left on their lease. And another thing is, after 8 months and they decide to leave, you know, I need the tenant to go to them and say, hey, I need you to sign more of the lease, but now I need you to pay $1,000 more a month so that, we can make money off of this property.
Well, it'll just depend. I mean, again, remind yourself, this is for everybody. Remind yourself too that these tenants that are in these buildings, if they're going to say, yeah, I'm going to get up and I'm going to leave, they can do that, but you can also remind yourself that there's a lot of cost in moving. There's not only uh, freight costs to, hire people and equipment to move material and inventory from one site to another. There's holding cost while that inventory is sitting in some storage facility somewhere. But also too, in my opinion, there's goodwill with their customer that they're losing. People don't, it's intangible in my opinion. It's kind of like an opportunity cost that you can't see on paper. Where if you have a whatever the type of businesses it is, and they go across town or across the state, they might end up losing half of their customers because they're no longer in the same site that they were in. So have a little bit of confidence when you go and make these contingent offers with rental increases and long-term leases, and include that on your cover letter when you send this to tenants to renegotiate leases. Remind them those costs. Remind them how there's about a 40% dip in revenue during that stretch of time between when their lease ends to when they move to their new site. And that hurts a lot of their variable cost on their balance sheet. So their fixed costs are still the same. Their variable income is going to be a lot lower, and they're not going to make as much revenue. So if you can remind your tenants or any person that you're trying to renew a lease on, remind these guys. And I always recommend this when you send an email or whatever to that you're trying to say, hey, before I buy this building, I need a longer lease or whatever. Number one, it makes the deal more bankable, but also you make your tenant a whole lot more sticky because you've given them all the reasons why to stay. And this is the price to stay. Does that make sense? Anybody have a thought or a question on that?
I did have a question. It's maybe going to sound arrogant, but it's just for education for me. Is there ever a scenario, Nolan and Zane, where you guys circumvent the broker altogether because they just don't know what they're doing, and you want to do right by the seller too, and maybe the broker's just not representing correctly?
I have not done a deal that I have not been represented by somebody else, and the main reason why that is whenever I'm selling something or whenever I'm buying something, the cost doesn't come out of my pocket; it comes out of the seller's. Number one, but second of all, um, I try and that's kind of the number one. The week one is all about assembling our team with the right people. It's if you've got the wrong people on the team, the wrong people on the bus, the focus is getting the wrong people off the bus, getting the right people on. So uh, I would always recommend finding the right guys before just blasting offers and doing what Bigger Pocket says about finding the deal. The money will find you. You've heard me say that. But my focus is how do I have the right guys on my team so when I do make those offers, I don't have the hiccups of incompetency, if that makes sense.
Does.
You have gone directly to the seller, like meet to talk to them about seller financing several times, right? And only like without the broker, for example.
Yeah, and when that even happens too, I'll sit down like what I did for those that were at the event last year. Uh, I bought another building. It doesn't matter, but there's this little corridor over in Leeds where I'm just trying to pick off all these buildings, and I've gone and sat directly with the sellers of each of these properties. But the building that I bought, because of just walking up and getting in front of them, I still called my broker to represent me on the deal. And I even offered to split the commission for my guy just because I want him to do everything. I don't want to not waste. I don't want to spend my time uh, doing things that I'm not an expert at. I'm not an expert at writing up contracts, going back and forth, doing phase one and phase two environmental studies if I needed it, having Alta surveys, dealing with the city. Like I don't want to do any of that stuff. So I want to have somebody else that I want to pay to go and earn their commission on that. And it allows me to free up my time to do the things that I think are higher value for my time. So you can go spend your time door knocking and driving for dollars. I've done that. I do it every Sunday with Pryor with my son. But whenever we actually go under contract and find a deal, I could not recommend any higher having a broker represent you because they've closed deals in the past. They know how to get something across the finish line and they'll handle all the work in the back and the forth with the title company, having a purchase agreement watertight, which is also, if you really get philosophical, they'll have that purchase agreement leaned towards you, the purchaser, versus the buyer, or I'm sorry, versus the seller. So I just recommend having the guys on your team as the most important piece of the foundation as you're growing your business. That's the way it has worked for me at least. Anybody else have an opinion or thought on that? Awesome. No, Angela, that sounds great. Sounds like things are moving in the right direction, which is great. I mean, you probably just joined like a month ago and you're already making moves, which is great. So congrats on that.
Well, I will say that doing the two deals together, I mean, was very difficult, going back and forth from two properties in two different cities with the same company renting these buildings. The same company. Okay, so the people that own the building used to own the company. So a few years ago they sold the company. Now they're getting ready to sell the property.
Gotcha.
So that's
Gotcha.
kind of where that is. So if you find yourself in two different offers like that, it's going to be challenging for
Yeah.
sure.
Well, that's
But
what makes it fun.
starting out,
Nobody else is doing those deals. Like that's you can make unique offers like that when you have unique circumstances. So that's great. Yeah.
mhm.
Awesome. All right. Who's next? That's awesome. Thank you, Angela. That's awesome to hear. What else is everybody else working on?
I can share an update on my deal.
Awesome. Hey, Solis. Yeah, of course. Sure.
Congrats again, by the way, on the new
Thank
baby.
you. Thank you. Yeah, I've got 3 terrorists now.
Well,
But that's
three's
a
the
blessing.
perfect
It's a blessing
number.
either way. Yes, that's it.
Yeah. So my deal from last week that I mentioned that I was in negotiations about the LOIs. So me and the seller came to an agreement on a purchase price.
Awesome.
505. So you were right, Nolan. I originally submitted 560, which is what the seller was asking. Um, so I submitted that seller finance and then cash offer 535. Or sorry, 505. He came back at 535. I responded, no, I'm firm at 505. And he said, okay. So we agreed
Nice.
505.
Let's go.
So
Congrats.
now what I did is I received the PSA from my agent, and now I'm just finding an attorney in town. I found one yesterday, so I sent him the contract. He's going to take a few days to review it. It is only 6 pages, which he right off the bat was like, that's way too short to buy a commercial property. You need a much longer PSA than that. So he's kind of going to review that. I guess he was recommending to draft the contract himself. So I guess a question I did have at this point is, how much should an attorney charge to review a PSA? Should we use the agent's PSA, or should we have our attorney always draft the PSA? Kind of.
Two answers. Two answers. First, it sounds like you got actually a decent attorney, because if he's like, because I would agree, if it's you have an agreement, a purchase agreement that's 6 pages long, it doesn't feel right in your gut. You're like, "Okay, maybe all the information's there, but I've got a lease on one building that's like 26 pages, and that's a lease, you know? So a purchase agreement, you feel like you might be leaving a few things out. You also don't want to have some attorney that is just nickeling and diming you and going to just add things into a purchase agreement that may not necessarily be necessary. But I would always have an attorney on retainer. Really, anyway, you can probably pay him like $2,000 to put him on retainer. He won't use all that amount of money, but what you can also end up doing is, instead of, depends on this guy, of course. Well, before I get into that, how did you find this guy? Was he recommended to you by any other real estate person, or you just like find him in the Yellow Pages?
No, so there's an active investor Facebook group in Wichita, and people just always ask for recommendations, and other investors comment. So this
Okay.
guy's name came up a lot.
Okay, good. So you got a guy that sounds like he's done a couple of things in the past, which is great.
Mhm.
When he responded to you, what was his response on how to get paid?
He kind of was like asking me what I prefer. So he said he can do hourly. He said it might take him like an hour or two to review the already provided contract and make edits. He was like 400 an hour. And he's like, but I recommend, if you want a more thorough coverage from me, it's quicker on his time for him to just use his already existing PSA that his office uses. And he's like, then like it'll take me maybe an hour to do what you want. And
Yeah,
he's
that's what I would do. And then what you can do on top of that, if you want to get froggy, is when you have that purchase agreement, just keep reusing that. Like,
Mhm.
don't use it, or really just use him for the next time, and even negotiate and say, hey, look, how about this? I'm going to keep buying buildings, and instead of you knocking me for $400 an hour every time, one, I prefer to have, when we close, wrap your fees into the closing statement. That way you can wrap some of his cost into your debt. So you don't have to necessarily come out of pocket all that much out of the gate. But also, too, you can negotiate maybe a lower hourly wage or fee for him if he knows that he's going to create residual income because you're purchasing more property, you know? So that's a couple of ideas. Um, if I'm him, if I'm anybody else, everybody's in business. You do the same thing. You just swing for the fence out of the gate for a price. And if they're like, okay, yeah, you're like, damn, I left money on the table. Like, if you just automatically agreed to $400 for him, he's going to think, damn it, if I would have only charged, if I would have guessed, if I would have said $500, she might have said yes. So I think a good negotiation out of the gate is actually a healthy thing between a buyer and a seller, or between parties. So I think you go back to him and just make a counter offer. Say, hey, this is a great offer of what you're saying. Here's my two options. You know, you can be paid at closing at your total cost of what you're asking per hour, or I'd like to use you for, using our own sales agreement. And then also I'd like to use you in the future for the next closing that I have at, maybe a 250 an hour rate or whatever the going rate in Wichita is, which I'm not really sure. So,
Nolan, what do you see as a fair rate per hour for consulting attorneys?
dude, I'll be honest with you, man. Like what I've done here's this. This is me being transparent with everybody. I don't even know my hourly bill, to be honest with you. I'll give this attorney. I got an attorney. His name is Brian Cloud. He's on everyone's contact list. You can have him. He's been great for me. I had Drew Ellis before that, another great attorney in Birmingham, like both great guys. Drew Ellis was more like if I talked to him on the phone for 5 minutes, he would bill me like point, and I was like, I'm not really into that because I'll make a call because I'm on something. I got an idea. I didn't want him to trying to extend our conversation just to bill an extra $60. So Brian Cloud, on the other hand, I just put up I gave him $5,000 of just retainer. And I just said, look, I'm going to call you when I got something on my mind. And if I'm overusing you, then call me and ask for more retainer. That's just, and that sounds maybe a little silly or crazy for some people, but he's a local guy. I've got multiple cases open with him, multiple deals open with him, and I can pick up the phone and he'll answer it. We can talk for 15 minutes. We can talk for 4 minutes. He's not going to like quote unquote charge me like an hourly rate. But when he's like, hey, we've done some stuff together, maybe refill your retainer, I'm not going to question it because I feel like him and I are fair. If that makes sense. Like I'm not getting nickel and dimed, but also, you know, he's just a local guy. I mean, I think there's a lot of local attorneys that would probably do that too if you guys are doing deals. So I don't know. That's Zane. You got a thought on that? Maybe I'm crazy by saying that. I mean, that's been I mean, Zane's up in the office with me every day. That's kind of how it works for me. But I don't know. What's your opinion?
Dude, I'm not like an expert on the attorney thing, but I know that in the past you've said things like it's much cheaper to like pay an attorney what they need or what they kind of ask for rather than skimp out and not pay an attorney.
Right.
You know,
Cheaper to pay an attorney than not pay an attorney.
yeah. So I mean, I think it might be negligible in the end, but also obviously it's tough to you don't want to get like screwed over or anything. But yeah, I'm not an expert. I shouldn't be the one you ask, to be honest.
But and on the other end of that too, if you really get philosophical as well, I mean, I just set up like this trust for my kids and family and stuff, and I got recommended to him, and this attorney's not even taking on new clients. He's like, I'm doing you a favor. Of course, I'm going to charge you what I'm charging you. He's charging, $900 an hour, right? I mean, that's his cost. So I don't know how much we haven't even got the bill for that yet, so we'll see. But I think it's just the higher the price, the higher the quality. It's like anything else. I mean, you can go to McDonald's or you can go to Perry Steakhouse, I guess. I don't know. I think it's all relative in that standpoint. Does that answer your question? Well, I don't
No,
talk in circles, but that's just me being transparent.
it makes sense. There's different levels to this. So, absolutely understand where you're coming from. The one other question would be, so you just broke them off the 5K up front and, is that replenished every 6 months or like, is it just kind of until he says, hey, it's time to do it again? That's how you're playing with it?
So I wrote him a check for the 5,000 probably back in May, maybe May. And dude, I probably talked to him on the phone twice a week, at least 3 times a week sometimes. Not really more than 10 minutes at each. We've closed 2 deals. I was in court with him last week on another deal. Not in a bad way, just like clearing some liens on a building. But I just I was in his office and I was like, hey, dude, let me know whenever you need a retainer refillment. Like, just let me know. And I just haven't heard from him.
Yeah.
So
I like that approach though. You have a certain amount of credits with him at this point. You're not sitting here looking at your watch. Am I talking to this guy for too long? It's just like, let me know. So I like how you do that.
no, 100%. I don't think there's one right or wrong way of doing it. Hey, buddy, this is my kid right here, Pryor. This is my son, Pryor.
What's up, Briar?
Everybody,
Prior.
hey, and then Ireland's over there somewhere. and we're mommy have a few minutes to herself today. He's up in the office today. Hey, can you go back with McKinley for a minute? Daddy's almost done. I love you. I love you. Go back over there real quick, okay? Thank you. I love you. So yeah, I don't know what the right or wrong way of doing it is. I just think if you have that relationship and you say, hey, look, I'm playing the long game here, you develop again, it goes back essentially to assembling your team and you build instead of just focusing, not directly at anybody, but like when I first started, I was like kind of in the same shoes where I was like so focused on transacting. All I gave a shit about was like, how can I close a deal? And then I had a mentor that was like, dude, the reason you're not closing deals is because everybody knows you don't give a shit about them. They know you don't care about them. All you're doing is focusing on yourself. And that's was kind of like what was the flip. I was like, oh, so if I started, that's where I was like, okay, what if I started to look out to the brokers, the attorneys, the accountants, how do they make money? And then I was like, oh, it's from residual, it's from referrals, I started to look from a different lens. I was like, that's how they make money. And then that's where I was like, okay, what if I did things that would benefit them? And then what will end up happening, of course, like anything else, it just always comes back. Because then if you're gonna give them a referral, they're like, oh man, I know I had this other client that ends up he's selling a building. I know no one's in the business of buying a building. Let me connect these guys. But if I was only consumed with myself, then I know that he would have never thought about introducing me to that guy. So I think the name of the game is instead of focusing, again, I'm totally guilty of it, was I was so focused on transacting that I gave up. I didn't burn any bridges, but I just didn't get any of the referred or introductions from people that I would have otherwise gotten. So if you can focus on the relationships and giving other people what they want, dude, it just comes back in spades, man. It really does. Like I've gotten two other buildings that I'm looking at right now, truly from that Brian Cloud guy off a $5,000 retainer. So that I haven't had to replenish yet. So because he represents Jefferson County. So on other stuff. So you just never, that's just one guy, of course, but you just never know. So that's the way that I've looked at it, at least.
Well, Solus, tell us about kind of the latest on that deal because I know
Yeah, please.
they came down to your pretty much price that you wanted to give them. And then we did the math and we saw that the anchor tenant would cover the debt service on there, even in the worst case scenario. So, and then if we leave all the tenants in there, not including the month-to-month tenant, what's the cap rate now at the 505 number?
So not excluding the month-to-month tenant at 505, it's a going in cap rate of 12% and cash on cash return of like 19% on like a 80% LTV loan. So I'm like super excited.
So let's look at it.
Okay,
So 1, 2, 3 main. How many square? So everybody can. We'll just like underwrite this together. So
Okay.
you know what's the square footage, Solus?
13,600.
600 feet. We'll just do this together. Value of the land. I mean, we'll call it 25,000. So let's say the offer price is 505.
Mhm.
And then what is the monthly or what's the annual income, net operating income?
So for my monthly, it's 5,226.
And that's without the month-to-month tenant, right?
Excluded. Yeah, that's only the 3 out of 4 tenants.
Strong. Okay. So as we're underwriting this, who's got an opinion on after we've punched in some information, what should we do next? As we're underwriting together, like what's the next thing that we should do as we're looking at this? Anybody got an opinion? Well, what I'm looking at first, I'm going to go to my due diligence checklist. I want to make sure first the physical attributes, right? They all check. So if it's 13,000 feet, that checks. Do we know the clear height, Solus?
Yeah, so part of the building's 16 feet and the other part is 14 feet. So I guess it's like the building is 2 separate.
Well, that's fine. Look, if it's going to check if it's 16 feet somewhere, it means it's pretty tall still, right? So that would check to me. What's the roll-up doors?
They have 5 total.
Doors, you know the distance from the highway?
Yeah, less than a mile.
Less
Or
than a
like
mile. I mean, so
half a mile.
So you've checked all these boxes, and then we'll just now it's when we go back to our financials, right? So we'll check out the cap rate, the debt service coverage ratio, the purchase price. And the purchase price really isn't that relevant. That's just kind of a what I've discovered to be a middle of the fairways type of deal. I mean, I've got multiple properties that are less than $1 million, so it's not right or wrong. So that's in there. I think the global debt ratio needs to be 1.4, not 1.2.
No, that's the global is referring to after the seller financing
Oh, I
as well.
understand. Okay, never mind. Oh, the ones above it. Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I look at, obviously the green here, that's strong, 12.4. And I'd say this too, and but this is just maybe like a little 303, but when you see a cap rate that goes in at a 12 or 14 or anything like that, I initially have a hesitation, not because I think the deal is bad, but because if I feel like there's information that I don't have. And maybe I'm beside myself by this, but when I see something that is being offered at such a price point that's so high like this, is there information that is being withheld that you know of? Have you got any tenant estoppels that say maybe the tenant's like, hey, I'm owed a year of free rent that is between me and the landlord that we had a handshake or agreement on? I mean, there could be anything. But I mean,
Yeah.
also too, but a 12 cap is still a strong deal. I'm not calling your baby ugly. I'm just simply trying to figure out a 12 cap is a strong deal, especially when you go down, you got interest rates at 7, 20-year amortization. Even if this thing was 75%, I bet your debt ratio is like 1.9, 1.8. Yeah. Yeah. Almost 1.8. Yeah. So, and is
Yeah.
it still on
So
that lease?
no, so the thing is the seller won't share lease info until we're under contract.
Interesting. Okay.
So it is a little fishy that I got such a good price on it. So I think the
Got it.
due diligence time will be I really have to dig into everything. Um,
Do you know if it's a triple net lease or a gross lease?
so out of the 4 tenants, my agent knows of one gross lease, but they don't know about the other tenants, what their leases are.
Got you. Okay.
And
I have
on
a
the,
question.
oh, sorry.
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead. Andrew.
I have a question. I'm wondering how old the building is and if there was any renovations or anything done to the property.
Yeah, it was built in 1977, I think. And so I guess the building has like two different heights. So on the shorter part of the building, he put in a new roof, like in 2018, I think it was.
Nice.
But I don't know any other improvements.
Well, either way, I mean, even if a building is older like that, I mean, most of us probably live in houses that are older than 1977. At least I do. So they're not going anywhere.
And
With the go ahead, Zane.
sorry, I didn't know if you were done.
Yep.
And that just gives you, if there's something wrong, right? Like during inspection, like that's just free game right there to renegotiate.
Yeah, that's right. And I always recommend that too. That's like the easiest way to negotiate anything. I mean, you can hire some guy to go out there and inspect it for $1,000 and he'll find anything and everything wrong with it. And I mean, you negotiate $1,000 off the deal and I mean, it's still a wash, but you can find anything wrong with it. And you can even get a little crazy and say, hey, look, find something so I can negotiate 15 grand off of this thing. And you just 15x your money. I mean, it's kind of the Wild West with those inspectors. And even if it came down to on commercial property, like, hey, this thing might end up being out of code, or there's an impediment on the survey, or there's a cloud on the title. Like you can come up with anything. Like I think I told you guys before, I run with a guy who does a lot more than all of us combined, and he'll go under contract on deals. He'll tie stuff up, and at a 9 cap or whatever, he'll hire some guy $15,000 to go and inspect the site, and he'll find something, he won't find something, whatever, but he's got a title company that can find a cloud on the title. If he really ever needs to get out of a deal, he can find some type of issue because when you're conveying that property from, them to you, you have to have no defects, no clouds, that kind of thing. He's like, if he's ever in his pinch, he can call this guy up and be like, hey, yeah, there's a defect on the title back from 1934 when somebody did this, that, and the other. And so know that there's always a way to negotiate a stronger position, especially once you're under contract, because you got the seller starting to think about how they're going to spend the money. They're getting excited about it, like, oh, this is great. And then you can go and hit them, especially when you're getting closer to, due diligence period ending. So there's a lot of ways to do that. But I would, again, Solus, in my opinion, too, is like not being able to see the leases or even how much time is left on them or if they're triple net or they're gross. I mean, if this, I'm just imagining here, imagine that all of these leases are gross leases, and then you got to include all this. I mean, property taxes, let's say, are $10,000, $10,000, and insurance is $10,000, or in a management or whatever, right? And then utilities are $10,000. I mean, it changes the price of poker immediately, you know?
Is that price right there? Is the asking price 2.8 million?
No, that's incorrect. This is just I mean, call it 505, right? Or he was asking what, 550 or whatever it was, or
Oh,
575.
okay.
There we go. That's what he was asking, right? And these numbers were zero at the time. So um like I said, look, I don't know the deal, Solus, right? I'm kind of just like punching numbers. But the way that I look at this is that you don't have enough information right now to make an informed decision. And most importantly, you don't have enough information to make the deal bankable, you know? Um, in my opinion, I would prefer if you were going to call your banker up right now and say, "Hey, this is the deal I'm looking at." He's like, "Oh, dude, I love that site. It's an awesome site. Can you send me the leases?" That's what he's going to say. Can you send me the leases? That way I can get you a term sheet when you go under contract. Like that's what he's going to say. Like that is the timeline. Is, hey, I'll get you a term sheet once I get my eyes on the leases so I can get an understanding of what the market rent is. And then you're gonna be like, well, I don't have the leases. You can say, all right, well then how are we supposed to how can we lend you money if we don't even know what the cash flow is? You know? So
Yeah.
that would be my best recommendation this week for you is to um, circumvent the broker and go directly to the seller. And if he's being usually I'd say Zane knows this, but if you just go to these people and you just say, look, man, I'm just some person like I'm trying to buy property. I'm I'm a parent or I'm a somebody that's and you just like lower yourself and you're just a normal person. You're not some entity represented by an attorney. People tend to, you know, get along. I mean, it's remarkable. Like you go buy a guy a cup of coffee and you can get a lot of information out of somebody. You just by sitting there asking them questions about him and his life or her life or whoever it is, you're just getting to know them and say, look, I'm just interested in, this, you have an awesome property and I'd love to buy, especially if we can come together on a really unique deal and even leave money in the deal, makes you some more money, saves money in taxes and allows me to get my first property. And you can get, again, it gets a little like, salesy, of course, but I'm telling you, it works instead of just being represented by somebody and then you're just some entity that doesn't have a face or a heartbeat. And that's where, my opinion, that's kind of where deals go to die. It takes a little bit of courage to get out there and to put yourself out there and be in front of somebody, but you do it once or twice, it gets crazy easy. And that's where the deals begin to come because then your broker gets paid, the banker lends money, the insurance guy gets paid premium, and everyone's like, oh, dude, I need to talk to this Solus girl. She actually closes. And then that's when the deals start to flow towards you versus away, or you don't get one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. I did ask my agent to get the seller's contact info, and I think there's some type of relationship here. So in the PSA is when I found out that my agent's boss in her brokerage is actually representing the seller. So the seller and the buyer are both in the same brokerage. And
Interesting.
my agent mentioned, she's like, oh, the seller doesn't want to give his info out, but the agents in our office like know him really well and like we can get you any information you need from him. So I was like, okay, either this guy does a lot of like owns a lot of real estate in town and he's like represented by like basically the boss of the commercial division in the brokerage here in town. And I was like, I don't know. There's something going on there, but I don't want to step on anyone's toes and like get the seller's info and like go around my agent, go around what I'm guessing her boss also says who represents the seller. So I don't want to.
Well, it sounds like there might be a little conflict of interest as well when you've got multiple people, representing in the same brokerage. But
Yeah.
I just would I'd walk in. I mean, again, I have audacity. I have you can't be, really, really wealthy in business without stepping on a couple of toes and hurting a couple of feelings. Like walk in there and be like, yo, I'm looking for this guy. I'm looking for this person. Like, give me some information on this dude. Love to meet him. Hey, here's my card, here's my information. Have this guy call me. Tired of dancing around this. If we want to do this deal or not. People are like, that girl is such a biatch, or that guy is such a douche. And guess what's gonna happen though? Is someone's gonna be like, that girl's gonna be that girl's a badass. Like someone's going to have a different opinion of you, and it's gonna be a lot more people are gonna be positive than negative. Because they're like, that girl gets stuff done. I want to partner, I want to be in the foxhole with that girl. I'm telling you,
Are they
like,
thinking that she's not serious about, making a deal or anything?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I just know that when I have audacity to bulldog call people, especially my broker, I'll call Sam like 3 times in a row if he doesn't answer me. I know he's not exercising. I know he's not in a meeting unless he texts me and says something. I'm like, call me back now. And he'll be like, you're bothering me. I'm like, I don't care. Then tell me, then tell me not to call you because I'll call somebody else. I'll find somebody else. He doesn't want that though, you know? So that's the way that I kind of, and maybe that's me just being on an island by myself and kind of being a jerk. But what ends up happening is more opportunities present themselves because they're like, hey, that guy is not, you know, the nicest guy ever, maybe, but I'm guaranteed to get paid if I send him a deal and it fits his box. And so that's the way that it elevates their lives if they're able to, earn commission that way. That's been I don't know. Zane, you got a thought on that? Maybe I'm not like trying to put you on the spot constantly. I'm just trying to that's just the way that I've tried to run like how I'm doing how we do things, I guess. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I think Solis is doing pretty good with like everything that she's got so far, and
Yeah.
I think I actually see it as a good thing that you're going to be able to get it under contract without some of the information like that, like we were saying earlier, just because that gives you more firepower while you're under contract. But obviously, it'd be nice to have every little detail before. But like you put up $5,000 of earnest money. It's not like a crazy amount, obviously, maybe for some people, but then you get, the ability to go and renegotiate, like we were saying. And so, I mean, I see it as a kind of a good thing. But yeah, I guess that's what I'd have to say.
No,
And then
I don't think it's wrong. I don't think it's bad at all. I'm just
yeah, and then you made your proposal for financing, which was awesome. And then you sent that to a lender already?
Yeah, I sent it to 3 so far.
Oh, nice. And any updates on that yet?
No, I guess they're just reviewing.
Did you send proposal for financing?
Mhm.
Good. Awesome. 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 Way to go. That's great.
Doing it your way, Nolan.
I'm telling you, that's the only way. I just got off the phone with my guy Patrick Levette earlier at Renaissance, and we were discussing another building today, and he's like, "Hey, just send me this, that, and the other." I'm like, "All right, I'll send it over to you." Just got a proposal for financing, and it's like, looked at it, awesome. I'll send you some terms this afternoon. So it's like, it works. It works, which is awesome.
So I guess my next step is the leases are a concern. So I guess it would benefit me to have my attorney to use his PSA and then make it very clear that for any reason I can back out if these leases are concerning, if it makes the deal really poor. I guess that's the safest way to do it because I would love to lock it up, but be able to back away for any reason.
Yeah, you can tie the deal up, and then during your due diligence period, you can get out of a deal for, I mean, it's pretty much anything. If you don't like the color of the paint, I mean, there you can get out. You don't have to give even a reason why you're backing out. You can simply get out of a deal for any defect that you don't like about the property.
Okay, if I do back out for any reason, let's say the leases, would my agent, I like this agent a lot. Would my agent kind of not like to send me deals going forward because I backed out on the first deal that I went in contract with her?
Mm, I don't think that. I think that if that person and you're thinking the long game, if they're going to get upset and get emotional about one deal, I don't think they're going to be in business very long. If they're getting emotional about losing a deal, I mean that's sales for them. I mean they're in sales, so I don't think anybody should ever be emotional about losing a deal. But um, if they're playing the long game, you can say, look, here's the reason that I didn't want to go forward with this because of this, that, and the other. These reasons, X, Y, and Z. And you can say, hey, broker, why didn't you present these, issues to me before we went under contract or while we were in due diligence? Or most importantly, yeah, if you know you have a good agent, she'll say, hey, or he will say, hey, look, I see these issues coming up that I didn't see until we went under contract. I really recommend you reneging on this deal. That's when you know you've got a really strong partner. So versus somebody that's just like, oh, yeah, we got to keep moving forward. We got to do or if you hear somebody's like, oh, we just need to go under contract just to go under contract. Then you've got somebody that's like you can smell a sale. And I don't really want to partner with people like that. Versus when I call my guy Sam, I've got something on my mind. He's like, dude, you don't want to do that. Like that's not a good deal. Even though that if I bought it, he would earn commission. He knows he would represent me. He would be like, dude, I just don't think that's the right move, man. Like don't do that. So if you can have somebody that looks out for your best interest and you can develop again that relationship, not just transactional friendship, that's when you know you'll be able to do multiple deals because they know they're going to close when they send you the right deal, but they also know that you're sophisticated and you're not just going to buy something just to buy it. It's that kind of give and take.
Mm-hmm.
That
Okay.
makes sense.
Yeah.
So, okay, look, I don't want to just jump off like this, everybody, but I got my kids up the office. I think you guys saw a couple of them, but what I do want to say is I appreciate everybody making it on. I'm gonna now that we've gotten over the hump of having this baby and everything, we are full force on every single week on Thursdays at this time. And I've got to have Zane help me figure out my calendar. So if someone's still seeing a link on a Tuesday, we're not doing Tuesday calls. It's at Thursday at 4 p.m. Central Time. Just know those time zones. And we're going to do that every single week like that. And so if anybody needs extra time, questions, thoughts, you all have my cell. You've all got Zane's cell. Don't hesitate to call us or text us. We're always on your team for whatever that you need. Just get with us. If you got something on your mind, call us. Like let's walk through, let's figure it out because let's not like waste any more, days. I saw that whole thing with, the Charlie Kirk thing yesterday. I was like, dude, there's no sense in wasting time in this life. Like let's use all the things that God given us to like, move our lives forward. So I've got an opinion on life of just giving it everything we can. So if you need something, call us, text us. We're on your team, and we're just so thankful for your partnership. So, any final thoughts before we get out of here today?
I just want to thank Zane for really coming through and helping me with these two properties. So you've got a good one right there.
You're welcome.
Zane is the best. Zane is number one. He's the best teammate that I could have asked for. Truly.
Let's go. Let's go.
That's it. Awesome. All right, everyone. Well, thanks for the time tonight. I'll upload this call on school here and just be on the lookout at that for tomorrow, and we'll go from there. All right.
Awesome. Congrats again, Nolan.
Thank you, guys. Thanks everybody for making.
Congrats. Thanks.
Thanks, Will. See you, brother.
Good night.
Thanks, guys.